one of my favorite subjects, and one that I spend a lot of time studying myself and developing pieces around, is the subject of music. And this is my first music theory piece. You know, I want to say the first, how's that? The first iteration of this one probably happened in 1995 or so. And this is still my favorite one. I was hoping to publish this a couple of years ago, the first piece I've taken to the press. And I found out that printing anything this large was going to be very expensive. And what I ended up doing instead was paring it down into a standard 24 by 36 inch poster format. And this is actually my first published piece. You can see the content of this for free actually on the web at thenaturalphilosopher.mapmate.com, and we'll put that link up on the screen for you. So this one can actually be purchased off the web at my website, naturalphilosopher.org, for $25, including shipping. So the thing that I'm most excited about with regard to where my work is going these days is around this piece, which is called Music as a Model for Ecology. The place that my work began, I took a degree in mechanical engineering at a university, North Carolina State University, finished in 1983, and went to work in industry, the metals industry as a matter of fact, and finally ended up doing design work. And I became really captivated with the communication possibilities of blueprint drawings, where you're mixing graphics with text, and you're doing it in a very non-linear way. And that's where all of these pieces originated. They originated from blueprint drawings. So at a certain point in my own evolution as an engineer and as a human being in the world, I realized to my horror that we don't have an appropriate teaching model in our civilization that allows technologically employed people such as engineers to integrate what they build into the environment. There is no teaching model for that. We don't get any help at university about how we are going to make these machines work in the larger context of the ecology. So after many years of struggling with this idea and thinking about it a lot, I returned to the obvious idea, and that is that music is that model. Now, this is not a new idea. The Greeks and therefore the Egyptians and the entirety of European civilization following the Greeks assumed that music was the model for how things worked, and they had a particular term for that, and that is musica mundana, music as a model for the cosmos. So what I've got that helps me in this adventure is a musical instrument that I designed and had built for me that I call the harmonichord. And what it is a 2-string monochord. Let me move the bridge here. 2 strings tuned to the same note. Let's see where we are. Not bad. With an electric guitar pickup at either end, and then there's a switch here that allows me to listen to either pick up singly or both of them at the same time. And then there's a movable bridge that goes underneath one of the strings, and what I use this for is to recreate the experiments that legend would have it Pythagoras performed in the 6th century BC when he discovered the mathematical structure of the scale. And once I do this demonstration for people, it really unravels a lot of the quandary that surrounds music theory and how music works. And so it's really cool. What happens on one side of the bridge is that I end up building the scale, and on the other side, simultaneously, I'm building the harmonic series. And I can listen to either side of the bridge then by flipping the switch and going to one pickup or the other. Let's talk about how things sort of branch in different directions for music. And this is actually the first piece I ever did. This is the probably fourth or fifth iteration. I had a friend who was taking a trigonometry class in high school and was really struggling with it. And so I decided to do one of these on the subject of trigonometry. And so what you see here in this corner is the aspect of trigonometry that we use to describe waveforms and therefore musical forms. So this whole study of trigonometry gets integrated into relationship with the music content as well, and that's one of the big strengths of what I do, is that everything seamlessly connects to everything else, and that's because I use a consistent epistemology, an ecological epistemology that allows me to connect those things. And let me. This is a good time to give you a look at exactly what that looks like. Here's a good example. So I want to. We good? Great. So when I was learning music theory, at one point the light bulb really came on, and what I realized was that when somebody said C, they could be talking about a note or a chord or a key. And if I wasn't sure which context they were in, if I thought they were talking about notes and they were talking about keys, then what they said was going to make absolutely no sense to me. And so what I do with all the knowledge systems that I experiment with is to build what I call logical ecologies. And it's a real simple idea. It's kind of like a lever. It's a real simple idea, but a very powerful one once you start experimenting with it. And so what I have here is a logical ecology for music theory ideas. And, you know, as we all know, the fundamental musical unit that we tend to talk about is a note. And notes relate to form what we call intervals. Intervals relate to form scales. Scales are patterns within octaves. Octaves are patterns within sound. Sound provides context for octaves. Octaves provide context for scales. Scales are patterns of intervals, and intervals provide context for notes. So, for instance, in the context of geometry, what I would create here would be a logical ecology that started with points to lines to planes to volumes. And in the context of arithmetic, for instance, we would have addition and subtraction here, multiplication and division here, raising to powers and taking roots here. In a biological context, it would be cell, tissue, organ system, etc. Again, a really simple, fundamental idea, but one that is really deep and helpful once you spend some time with it. And again, this structure, once you learn it, you can map it over into any other knowledge system. So, for instance, if you're comfortable with mathematics, but you're not comfortable with music theory, that structure allows you to take a lot of what you've learned in mathematics and apply it to the structure of how music theory works.